I wanted to talk to you about rooftop solar because I think that this is actually a big deal. I mean, a huge deal. We have enough, we have this giant fusion nuclear reactor. I mean, it's huge. And it provides more than enough energy to fuel the entire planet's energy needs. This one nuclear reactor. It is located 93 million miles away from us. We call it the sun. And it is pouring down solar radiation on us in the form of heat and light and a whole bunch of other things on a continuous basis. And lots of people, I mean, just in the last 6 years in the United States, according to a piece in the New York Times by Hiroko Tabushi, in the last 6 years, we have seen a 900% increase in people putting solar panels on their houses. 900%. And then the next paragraph, that growth has come to a shuddering stop this year with a projected decline in new installations of 2%, according to Bloomberg. Now, why would that be? Well, the decline has also coincided with a concerted and well-funded lobbying campaign by utilities, which have been working in state capitals across the country to reverse incentives for homeowners to install solar panels. Now, reverse incentives is a very friendly way of saying punish people for putting on solar panels. Utilities argue the rules allowing private solar customers to sell excess power back to the grid at the retail price, a practice known as net metering, can be unfair to homeowners who do not want or cannot afford their own solar installations. You get this? This is a variation on the old argument that why should I pay property taxes when my kids are all grown up? Right? My property taxes fund the schools. Why should I do that? I don't have the kids in school. So they're saying, this is like two untruths back to back, right? It's not even actually like, that's a very imperfect metaphor or analogy that I just made because this is actually based on a lie. I mean, you actually could be an infertile customer who has no kids, citizen, a couple who has no kids. And, you could arguably say, why should I pay for the education of anybody? Well, the obvious answer is, don't you want to live in a society filled with educated people? It's to your benefit. But the utilities, the big lie that the utilities are using right now is that if you put solar on your home and your solar units on the house are generating more electricity than you're using, and you sell that back to the utility company via the grid, that you're costing your neighbors money, which in fact is a lie. Not only are you not costing your neighbors money, you're producing electricity at your own expense. I mean, you bought the solar panels, right? And you're providing it to the utility at the exact same price that they're selling to everybody else. Now, in Germany, they pay you 7 times more. That's in order to pay off the cost until you've paid off the mortgage on your solar panels. But here we just, hey, if it's 7 cents a kilowatt hour, that's what the utility will pay you. Well, the utilities all across the United States are saying, no more. We're not going to do that. We like the centralized power model where we have a centralized power plant, used to be running on coal, then, nukes, and now maybe even the giant solar plant or giant wind farm. But we own it. It is central. You can't get electricity without us. That's the whole sales pitch, or that's the whole business model of our electric utilities. And about half of the electric utilities in the United States are for-profit utilities. And they're actually growing. The for-profit ones are growing. The community-owned, municipal-owned ones are diminishing in number. There a lot of small towns are selling them to these private for-profit utility companies in order to get short-term money. And now it's going federal. This, again, from this article in the New York Times, the headline is Rooftop Solar Dims Under Pressure from Utility Lobbyists by Hiroko Tabuchi, published on July 8th. The same group of investor-owned utilities is now poised to sway solar policy at the federal level. Brian McCormick, a former top executive at the Edison Institute, is Energy Secretary Rick Perry's chief of staff. You get this? The guy who runs the energy department has a chief of staff who basically runs his office and everything he does. That guy is a former lobbyist with the Edison Institute, or former top executive with the Edison Institute, which is, you know, a front group for for-profit utilities. In April, Mr. Perry ordered an examination of how renewable energy may be hurting conventional sources like coal, oil, and natural gas. Is the job of the federal government to protect the coal, oil, and natural gas industries? Or is the job of the federal government to make sure that every person in America has access to power, to electricity, at a reasonable price? Rick Perry apparently thinks his job is to protect BP and Koch Industries, not to make sure that Americans have cheap electricity. Charged with spearheading this study due this summer is Mr. McCormick. David Pomerantz, executive director of the Energy and Policy Institute, said there is no doubt these utilities are out to kill rooftop solar, and they are succeeding. They are driving the agenda. Then they talk about Indiana, the state where Mike Pence was the governor. And a school superintendent, there was a meeting there, school superintendent said his underfunded district needed solar power to reduce energy costs. A local farmer pleaded that his pine tree nursery depended on power from his solar panels. A Baptist pastor said he saw drawing energy from the sun as an expression of our love for God's creation. But they were losing the battle. A week before the Indiana committee hearing, I'm reading from the New York Times here, a week before the Indiana committee hearing, a group of utility lobbyists descended on the State House, handing out talking points that said credits for rooftop solar panels led to higher rates for everyone else. They were there to support a bill sponsored by Senator Brant Hershman, B-R-A-N-D-T, H-E-R-S-H-M-A-N. He's a state senator in Indiana, that would roll back Indiana's net metering system by reducing the rate utilities pay to solar customers for their excess electricity. Amazing. Indiana's 5 investor-owned utilities are among the biggest contributors to Indiana's elected officials, together giving at least $3 million to mostly Republican candidates over the past 4 election cycles, according to campaign finance filings. They're also known to play an outsized role in drafting energy-related bills. Amazing. Mr. Hershman said utility contributions had not swayed him against net metering. His bill protects current solar customers by locking in their rates for many years. Right, although it prevents anybody else. This is such a scam. I mean, this is such a scam. And it's how are we going to move forward? I mean, I'm not even talking about stopping global warming here. I'm talking about just improving the quality of life in the United States, bringing back the middle class, giving people an opportunity to reduce their utility bills, giving people some independence. What happened to this freedom that the Kochs and all the right-wingers seem to love so much? You have the freedom to not have health insurance. But you can't have the freedom to sell the electricity that you yourself generated back to the utility that connected itself to your house with government subsidies over rights of way that were taken from other citizens by eminent domain? Really? This is just one more indication of the rot in the Republican Party and increasingly in the American body politic, a rot produced by petro-billionaires and fossil fuel companies that have not only completely seized the Republican Party to the point where they even deny climate science, but now they're just out to protect these big companies. To hell with you and me. A lot going on today. And this rooftop solar thing, I think, is frankly a big deal. Trump, doing harm to our planet by pulling out of the Paris Accords. I don't know if you saw the story, but Erdogan, the increasingly dictator of Turkey, the president of Turkey, let's say, is now talking about pulling out of the Paris Agreement because Trump. And it's like, really? This is the direction we want to go? This is a Western value, to quote Steve Miller via Donald Trump in his speech. I mean, it's remarkable.